Good morning. Welcome at yet another Onguard coffee conversation. I am Floor Stam, and today my guest is Elisabeth Doppelhofer from Adecco. You can, if you would like to, ask your questions in the chat during the conversation, and at the end of the coffee conversation there will be time to answer your questions. I might incorporate them during, but if not, then we'll get back to them at the end of the conversation. Elisabeth.
Hi.
Good morning. Would you be so kind to introduce yourselves?
Of course, yes. So my name is Elisabeth Doppelhofer. I am the head of credit for the Adecco Group UK and I. We are the world's leading provider of HR solutions. So basically it just means our core business is recruitment services, and we supply customers in the UK and globally as well. I've been with the team now for 13 years, so quite a long time. Very much grown up in the company, really. I started at the tender age of 26 as a credit controller, and over the years worked my way up in the company, and now really proud to be heading up a fantastic team that manages the collections for the UK and Ireland. Guess very brief background, I've actually been in recruitment for the past sort of 15-16 years. What I particularly enjoy and why I've stayed in recruitment is because when you do the collections or manage the collections for a recruitment company, putting a customer on stop isn't really an option. So for us, collections, the emphasis is very much on negotiation and communication, which I just really enjoy. Okay,
thank you. So what does a typical day in the life of Adecco Credit Control look like?
Well, I'm going to go what it, I guess, used to look like in BAU. So in credit control, or is in the group, we very much manage our teams with the lean performance management principles. We've now, in our organization, we call it perform, which means on a morning, we start our day with the daily huddle, which is a set time every day. We have sort of a whiteboard or an information center as it's known. And the team gets together, we discuss any communication points that need to be rolled out. We look at capacity, performance, any successes and challenges. And yeah, it gives every team member an opportunity to bring any issues that they have to the board, ask for support, or even offer up some support to other team members. And I think it's a really great way to start the day, especially as a manager, because it very much defines my day and lets me know which teams need my support and kind of what I need to build into my day. And then after that, really, like I would imagine most credit control departments, our core calling hours, 10 till 12, 2 till 4, is when the guys are pretty much on the phone, calling our clients and chasing for payments. And in between, of course, we have breaks and lunch and admin parts. And yeah, and on a Monday, one part I particularly enjoy is our floor meeting, where the entire department gets together. We have a weekly quiz, and my God, we are very competitive. It's great. But do that with a team of credit controllers, it's dangerous, I think, but it's great fun. And it's also a great way to recognize people who have done well, who've done something exceptional in the week, and they get a bit of a shout out. And whenever we have competitions, we announce the winners, etc. And yeah, so that's kind of day or week in the life of for us sort of that we have.
So what kind of competitions do you do then?
Oh, well, the most recent one we had was around the world in 80 days. So it was something that we did for Win for Youth to raise money. And we were basically having to walk around the world in 80 days, as it says. So every week we had a new city or country that we were aiming to get to, and ultimately ending back up in Birmingham. Bit of a letdown after New York the week before, but you know, we had to come home at some point. And yeah, we had some team members logging over 200 hours of walking in that time, which is just amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
Those kind of things that we do. And obviously it's great because it's also for charity. And of course, so we had some spooky huddles where people put masks on and face things like that. So it's great fun on a Teams call when everybody turns up and you're not quite sure who they are, but it's fun.
Yeah. Is that also one of the things that has, I can imagine, the current situation did change a thing in how we collaborate, how we work together? You already mentioned Teams meetings. I can assume that before COVID happened, those meetings were in person.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that has been a big challenge for us, really. The good thing is that we were already kind of moving towards more working from home. So luckily, everybody was set up to work from home. So we all already have laptops. We already had team members regularly working 2 to 3 days a month from home anyway. So that transition was quite smooth, but it is obviously different working from home a couple of times a month versus all of a sudden having to work from home every day and just not seeing people. So we have tried to make sure or try to have BAU much as possible, even working from home. So one of the things we did, we immediately changed the huddles to Teams huddles, like you say.
Yeah.
The information center or whiteboard became a Microsoft PowerPoint instead. And we are now actually internally automating that, which is something I'm really excited about and looking forward to. But yeah, the huddles have to be on camera because it's so important to see the team members, because somebody's saying they're fine versus maybe seeing them, seeing their body language, their tone of voice, all of that sometimes gives a little bit more away, where somebody might need a chat but wouldn't maybe say if you don't see them face to face. So certainly BAU now, but it was a bit of a challenge when we were first told all to work from home to adapt to managing completely remotely, which we hadn't really done before.
Yeah. So what do you think has been the biggest challenge in this shift in way of working?
Yeah, so I'd say usually our client portfolio, because obviously like any other, AR department, we do the necessary check. We ensure that our clients are creditworthy prior to trading with them. And certainly to the most part, our clients are very much able to pay. It's more around potentially willingness to pay or just making sure all the admin is in place for them to enable payment. And that mindset had to completely change. And at the forefront of every collections call was actually discussing the client's ability to pay. And that's something I think has certainly enriched our credit controller skill set in the past few months to really get to know the customer, understand the particular challenges that this pandemic has meant for them, and how we can continue to work together and try and find a solution to a potential payment issue that works for both parties. So yeah, I think that's definitely been the biggest challenge that we faced.
Yeah. Is this also the biggest change in your collection strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Our collection strategy, as I briefly mentioned before, was, very much contacting clients. It was always quite proactive, which I think has helped us, where, you contact your clients before due date, make sure everything's in order, that the invoice is ready to pay, just the standard due diligence checks that you'd expect the company to make. I mean, that has helped us because that gives you the first opportunity to identify if there is going to be a potential issue. And one of the things that we did differently, where there has been an actual change in collection strategy, is that we certainly used the experience of our credit managers, and they were actually contacting a number of our worst affected clients to have that negotiation and discussion with them, offering them support and trying to find that, like I say, mutually beneficial solution to ensure that we still get paid, but also the client doesn't have any major detrimental effects because of that. And that strategy for us has been very successful in terms of our collections, our DSO, and also the client relationships that we have certainly managed to build upon. And it's something I am quite proud of.
Okay, that's nice. So because those are, I think, important measurements for you, for your team, the performance of your team. So how did it impact the performance overall? Because so are quite difficult times, but on the other hand, it sounds like you have a pretty good approach. You found a good approach now to keep money coming in.
Absolutely. And I think that has to be one of the priorities, because of course we also run a business, and that can only be done if we have the cash flow. So so it was really important for us to keep that going, but absolutely the balance also needed to be to look after our customers, because they're our customers now and hopefully our customers in the future, and I just don't think you can ever lose sight of that. And our performance has been impacted, yes, that definitely, particularly I'd say March, April, parts of May, where we're still trying to find our feet, where we had a lot more payment plans that we'd agreed with clients, and where collections were certainly a lot more difficult than they had been in the last few years, really. But our team is just outstanding. I mean, they have been so resilient, got through it. And as at the last period, so September, our DSO is at a record low. So, the strategy has worked out. And it's for me, it's look after your team and look after your clients, and they'll absolutely get you through it.
Nice. Were there any qualities that your team showed that perhaps surprised you?
I always knew that they were very resilient. I've worked with a lot of my team members for the whole time I've been in the company, and they do usually bounce back quite quickly. But I think this completely unprecedented situation required a whole new level of resilience, and yeah, that is something that has surprised me, just how much they rallied together as a team, supported each other, helped each other out. There's been some difficult conversations, of course, around furloughs and things like that, which, again, luckily in our team, we had some people that optioned to do that, because that was just a personal circumstance where that just worked a bit better for them. And just when collections are so difficult and you are used to, as a collector, most of the calls that you make or most of the email chases you do result in what we call a payment promise. And all of a sudden, every other call is, I'm so sorry, but I can't pay you, or sorry, we're closed, contact us again in August. Do get that motivation together and pick the phone up again and just keep calling those clients and keep doing what they're doing best. I think that's something that has really, really impressed me.
Oh, nice. So there's a lot of course, there are hard times. We have to show resilience. There's a lot, but somewhere along the line, we have to, move into the new normal or back to the old normal. I don't know, but are there things that this period showed you, learned you, that you would like to maintain when we're moving into the next phase of the new normal?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that I would like to maintain is the benefits that working from home has to work-life balance. So I do think this is a very individual situation for everybody. So some people absolutely love working from home, would like to do it all the time. For some people, particularly those with children, it may not be quite so much fun when you're trying to do a full-time job whilst also homeschooling your children. Couldn't imagine what that must have been like. So hats off to anyone who had to deal with that. So I do think that going forward, working from home will probably feature a bit more in some of the functions where that is available. But I guess it's yet to be seen. Obviously, with a new lockdown just having been announced after we thought we may start to get somewhere into a little bit of a new normal. It's all up in the air again. So we'll see what happens. And I think what's really, really important is also to future-proof your systems. So our systems have really helped us out, but there have been a couple of niggles of things that didn't work out smoothly straight away, like having to move to email chase rather than phone chase right at the beginning, which we all know isn't quite as effective. So I think that's where my focus is going to be a little bit more going into the new year, making sure that if the unexpected happens, that we're ready for it.
Okay. So and what exactly is it then? What are you planning to do? How do you prepare for that?
I think really for me, it's liaising with our suppliers, see what else they have to offer, look internally. I mean, we have a lot of IT capability internally, see what they can offer. We are already working with our own IT department to look at phone solutions where we can make calls from the laptops, which will be so much more convenient, of course. And of course, always making sure that in terms of innovation, technology, that we are at the front of the game.
Okay. Yeah, because that's something I'm curious to know as well. And there's a lot happening in digital transformation, and I believe, and that's what I hear, that's what we see in the market, that the whole COVID situation only worked as a catalyst. It speed up the adoption of technology, because we need it to be able to work like we are used to. But there's always a delicate balance between technology and the personal touch, and in collections specifically, because in the end humans kind of make the difference. So how do you balance that technology and the human touch?
I think whenever you look at technology, and certainly we regularly upgrade our systems, it's always in the forefront of your mind that whatever you are building, whatever system you're looking at, it has to support the collections process. It has to make our collectors more efficient, not take away what they do. And I think, so one example would be we, for our client base, utilize a dialer system. And all that does is it reads out the calls where it goes to voicemail, where it's a disconnect, where the number doesn't work. That is a waste of a collector's time, right? So surely that is a system that makes perfect sense if you want to make sure that every call that connects is actually, every call that you make is a call that connects, because again, it just makes your collectors more efficient. And same as where you have an automated chase path, or where you have an automated statement and dunning run. That does not replace what a collector does at all, but it certainly supports and assists them. And that is what needs to be the priority when looking at systems and upgrades.
Yeah. Okay. So, and how well, because there's so much data available. And yesterday I was talking to somebody, and he said that big data was the big thing. But now we're moving into, he said, data minimalization, because of, and it's not that we have less data, but we should be very careful in what data we want to use, and to make sure that we only use the data that's of added value for the thing we want to accomplish with it.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on this whole bunch of gold of data, but it's so much and it's everywhere? How do you use that data to work for you instead of getting lost in it?
Yeah, I think that's a really good one, because personally, I love data. I do. I'm very much a person who makes decisions based on data, because I like my facts, I like my evidence. But you are absolutely right. Sometimes data can be overwhelming. And on that basis, it's just important, like you say, that the data that you have is meaningful. So we have done numerous exercises to look at all the reporting that we do and really question it. You know, the amount of reports that businesses send out that nobody looks at and are just a waste of someone's time. You know, it's just important to eradicate those and really only keep the data that you use for decision making. And if you're going to run lots of data, make sure that you analyze it, because I'm also a strong believer that a data set in itself, without the story around it, can actually be quite misleading and potentially lead to some assumptions that just aren't quite correct. So yes, definitely to data, but make sure that it is meaningful. And I guess when you also, if you have a subject matter expert looking at the data, I think that is what you need, rather than just running lots of data and sending it around.
Yeah. Okay. Another thing, there's a lot of, we noticed that the customer journey, customer experience is getting more and more important. And actually companies work really hard to get new customers in, but this is on maintaining them as their customers. As you mentioned before, that's your focus too. They are your customers. You want to keep them with you as long as possible. But did this kind of awareness that since it's also much cheaper to maintain a customer than to get a new one in. So did this change the way that collections is approached within your company? Did it change your strategy or your the impact of your department on the company?
Mm-hmm. I will say that I think customer service has always been something that has been hugely important to us. We provide a lot of training to all of our collectors and actually all of our team, regardless of which department they work in, around what good looks like, you know, what we are striving for. So I do think that has always been something that certainly in my team is instilled. Having said that, we do have customers that come in every now and then, or only have trade so many times a year. And it can be a little bit more difficult to build a meaningful relationship with those type of customers. So I would like to think that the skills that my team has gained from the communication, negotiation, you know, empathizing with a customer and the situation that they have gone through will certainly put them in good stead going forward to make sure that those customer service skills that are already there are certainly built upon. And I do think in any customer facing department like collections, customer has to be number one priority.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. So in the coming years, what do you think is the biggest challenge for finance professionals?
What a time to ask that question, eh?
Yeah.
I think if we look in sort of the immediate future, maybe a year ahead, I still think that there'll be some tough times to come, but the last few months hopefully have prepared us a little bit more for that and given us some new skills. Collections, I think will be more challenging, particularly when establishing creditworthiness. Most companies look back at the previous year's finances. They're probably not going to be that meaningful for the year 2020. So potentially looking at new ways to establish that and, you know, building that relationship with new clients.
So what kind of new ways, sorry to interrupt you, but I think this is interesting. What kind of new ways do you reckon we should look into then?
Oh, I think it's going to be about talking to your client, knowing the industry they're in, having some knowledge around how that industry is doing, how that industry is impacted. And I think it's about communication and honesty on both parts. And, you know, at the moment, certainly within our group, we have payment terms ranging from cash up front all the way through to quite large extended terms. And I'm sure that that's something that will be looked at as well to see where it is reasonable to offer extended terms and where that might change in the future. So I think that would be quite interesting next year.
Yeah.
And it would be certainly a miss of me not to mention Brexit. I think in the UK that will certainly have an impact on finance professionals in the next year. I mean, we have international clients, so it'd be interesting to see how that's going to impact collections and us speaking to clients and obviously new legislation, etc., that we need to get ready for.
Yeah. So how do you prepare for this? Because we do know it's going to happen someday, but how and what is still, I think, not really clear.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge because there's so much uncertainty around it. Will there be a deal? Will there not be a deal? So at the moment it's difficult because you're preparing for the unknown. But I'm a believer in prepare for worst case scenario, and then at least nothing that comes your way is going to be overly a shock. So, and of course, really important to keep yourself informed. You know, watch the news, check the legislations, and we have lots of obviously being a larger organization, lots of departments that purely focus on that, and we get communications issued all the time to keep us abreast of any news and making us aware of what might impact. So I think it's just really important to keep your teams informed. So again, that when it happens, that they are prepped and ready to go.
Yeah. Okay. In terms of time, I have one final question, which I always asked all of the guests in the coffee conversation is, do you have a golden tip for those listening?
Ooh, golden tip. It might be a bit of a cliche, but yeah, look after your team. I think the pandemic has shown more than ever that we're all human beings with feelings. We're going to have up days, down days. And, you know, like I said that already in the interview before, you know, you look after the team, they will rally together and they will get your company through. And
And I believe without our teams, without our people as an organization, we are nothing. And, you know, keep developing them. And now it's so much harder when you can't see people face to face and you can't have those meetings, but keep doing the regular one-to-ones, check in with them, have your daily huddles, be on camera, you know. And we've had so many Zoom training sessions, particularly around mental health, because a lot of people have and they wouldn't necessarily tell you. So yeah, look after your teams. Sorry, I've gone on a bit there, but that is just something that is really,
no, but that's something I completely recognize within our company as well. People struggle with the not having the social contacts that we're used to. It's kind of, we have to make the best out of it, everybody, but it's especially now that the days are becoming shorter and winter's coming, so it's quite a challenge. I recognize that. Yeah,
really is. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for your view on credit management and explaining us a bit more how Adecco approaches collection. So thanks for that. And if you would like to join more of these kind of coffee conversations, there are many more coming up. So go to www.onguard.com/events, and there you'll find what's on the program for the coming weeks. Rest me with wishing you a very nice day, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Thanks and bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.